Okay, so we're gonna take the string off this right here, and we're gonna make it just loose enough to where these can come out. All right, perfect. We're gonna flip it over to this side, and we're gonna do the same thing. Should be enough. Now we can remove. And we will just very gently undo each lug. And I want to say as a disclaimer, I don't use Remo. I am proudly sponsored by Evans drum heads. I use them all the time. This is just the stock head that came on this snare when I bought it. And I have not replaced the Resonant head. So now that we have our snare wires removed, we are going to loosen this drum head, remove it. We're going to wipe down the outer side of the shell and the inside of the shell, make sure there's nothing inside of it. And then we're going to put the brand new Evans 300. And if you have two keys, I would recommend that you do that, as it just makes the process go a lot faster. And you also ensure that you're equally untuning each side. The most annoying part about this is when it gets down to kind of untightening it with your fingers. So I try to do as much as I can with my thumb. Obviously you can do this however you want to. I just try to save my fingers because after a while, the grooves on lugs can be a little bit annoying on your skin. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna remove the rim, set this aside, then we're gonna remove the old head, and then I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's very beat up, and it's time for a new one to be put on. So let's grab the other head, we'll put it on, and we'll get to tuning. So I've got this awesome Evans rag here. I'm gonna wipe the outside of the shell and also the inside of it just to make sure there's nothing that is gonna be going in on the sound, just removing dust, any debris. It's good to do that. You can see this beautiful drum right here. Absolutely love it. It is incredible. Look at the inside of this right here. You can see where it connects on the shell. That's so cool. I love that so much. Okay, so now, when you're putting a new Resonant head on, make sure that you line up the rim with where the snare head and wires are going to go, because you don't want to do this. And let's say you accidentally put it on here, but there's no butt plate to go with it. So keep that in mind. All right, so we're gonna grab our new snare head. I've got the Evans 300 snare side, which I am so pumped to put on here. And before I grab this rim, I'm gonna actually make sure it's kind of centered. It's really important to me. You can do it however you want, but I like it to be somewhat going this way, as opposed to the logo being across. Personal preference, up to you. So that's on there now. Let's grab our rim. And now, I want to make sure it's the right way. So let's go like this. Make sure your floyd can kind of get off. There we go. And now we'll just finger tighten everything again. And we will get it back up to where it needs to be. And then we'll actually tune this. That way you can hear everything. Before I'm done with finger tightening a rim on a drum, I always want to make sure it's seated properly. So, meaning there's no extra space between the rim and the drum head. So pushing down on it, making sure it's going to be even tension-wise all over the drum and the head. So it sounds really, really pretty once we're done tuning. Another thing to check too, and I like to get eye level, you can just double check that your lugs are straight and they're not curved, they're not going in at a weird angle, nothing like that. Thankfully this throne rotates, so it's easy for me to kind of check that. And everything is looking pretty good, I would say. Honestly, removing your snare wires and putting them back on isn't scary. What makes it scary is getting it level, and we'll go over that after we're done tuning. But getting that level is still not all that hard. But we will talk about it. So it's coming along nicely. Just finger tightening. I'm gonna go a little bit faster with this. And I'm just feeling the tension also with my fingers as far as, you know, this point in the process, it should be really easy to put the lugs in. If the lugs aren't going in rather quickly, could be it's time for you to oil up your lugs. So if you need to do that, lubricate your lugs. But these are brand new lugs like I mentioned earlier, so they are totally fine. Again, we want to make sure this is seated really well. We're almost there. And again, I'm just making sure like I can no longer easily move my finger around this drum key before I really start dialing in my tuning for this head. There we go. All right, so let's get one kind of firm press on this, and we're gonna kind of just see where the wrinkles are at. And now I'm gonna grab my other drum key, and we are gonna do one full turn on each lug across in this pattern. So let's start tuning. All right, I'm gonna do the same over here. Just gonna go 1, 1, 1. All right, now let's grab a drumstick, kind of hear how it's sounding. Still very, very, very loose. There we go. Still a little bit loose in certain sections, and also you can use your thumb to feel the tension of where the head's at. So I'm gonna give this some more, give this some more. You can hear how low that is compared to everything else. This one's very low. These guys are quite low, so we want to make sure those are good. Still working on these. Still a bit low. A lot more even. Let's grab our tune bot and let's see where this is at. So if you've got a tune bot, make sure you hold the filter button here and it'll switch it to the high range mode. So let's hear where we're at. So it's reading 354, 359, 362, 355. So I want to bring this up to about 380. So we'll give it some more turns. at 370, which is fine. All right, let's see the other side now. And remember, after you tune the first time, the overall pitch of this head is going to go down. So keep that in mind, and you will probably need to retune this resonant side after you play. I try to tune my resonant head every time I play my snare because it does get detuned and I just forget about it. So 376, and you can really now hear that ping come out of the drum, which that's what you want. This is tabletop tight, but it's not gonna pop. I promise you won't pop it if you're at 380. Just a little bit more. Okay, I went a little bit too far, so we'll just take it down a little bit. And now let's go on each lug and just see where we're at. So we'll go. Very even. So I will probably actually keep this where it's at. 382, 383, that's fine. Again, when you're using a tune bot, this is just to get you to a certain reference, a certain pitch that you like. So don't freak out if it's not all perfectly matching. You want them to be in harmony with each other, yes, but don't spend hours just going like ding, 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 ding. Just go quick. Go couple hertz off of each other. These are very even. So these are a little bit lower, so I'll just slightly raise them. And then I'm gonna call it, because I already checked them before and they're all in tune with each other. Now that we've got the bottom resonant side good, we're now gonna put our snare wires back on the drum. And like I was mentioning before, the tone of your drum comes from the resonant side. If you want a lot more attack and if you want a lot more snare response, I would encourage you to crank your resonant head. And when I say crank, I'm saying a range of between 380 and 400 hertz. So shoot for that and just experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment with your resonant side. All right, that is sounding great. Now let's go grab our snare wires. I am a bigger fan of straps over string, but to each their own. You know, it really just depends on what your preference is and what you like. I know a lot of people prefer string, so, you know, experiment with what you like, you know, changing your drums to. Tuning your heads, what you feel responds better. Sometimes I feel like the string can come undone a little bit, so I'm slightly pickier when it comes to using string. All right, so now we've got our wires here. I'm gonna lay this flat, and now my goal is to kind of just get this in a good position. Just kind of drag them over a little bit. And it's very important this side of your tuning to get these to be equal with each other, because you want this to be level, right? So when I'm saying level, you don't want the metal plate of the snare going over the rim of the drum. You want it to be just in between, because that really helps the tone. If it's too over like this, it's gonna not sound very good. You're gonna get weird overtones, you're gonna get a weird snare buzz, all that. So let's make sure this is good first. I'm gonna grab my drum key, and we are just gonna tighten each one. Switch keys as it's hitting the end. So that's with it turned on. I'm going to pull this to where I feel good tension. And again, It is okay to mess up on this. You can change it. Don't feel like it's the end of the world. The main thing you want to get right is tuning this. You want to get the tuning right before you get your snare wires right. Let's pull this a little bit more. Hopefully you guys can see that on the camera. Okay, now that's good. Okay, so now all I did there was I just adjusted the throw. I had it off for a second, and then engaged the wires, and then just slowly adjusted this right here. So let's hear how it sounds. And that sounds great, you know, it's a really great overall tone. Again, I'm going for 380 on the bottom of the Resonant head, and that is how you replace your snare wires. That's how you get them dialed in. And let's just double check really quick and just kind of see where they're at, like level wise, because that's an important part of this. Kind of double check. You can't really see on the camera, so it's a little bit harder for me to show it, but I will try my best. So yep, pretty even overall. The snare wires are sounding good. I kind of want to loosen this a little bit more so you can see better. But yeah, overall we're dialed in. So that's how you replace your snare wires.